The car dealership hums with the buzz of luxury. Its sleek, polished floors reflect the sharp suits of its employees, each one walking with a purposeful stride. The soft thrum of business chatter fills the air as a gleaming black sports car sits in the center of the showroom, its engine silent, cold. The employees surround it like a group of worried children huddling around a broken toy. The car, their prize, their symbol of success, refuses to start. A few nervous glances are exchanged, whispers rising, unsure hands tapping on phones for a solution. And then she enters. Sarah. The CEO. The embodiment of privilege. Her heels click sharply against the floor, and the room falls into a hushed silence. She surveys the scene, her sharp eyes glinting like a predator's, noting every person's discomfort. She's used to power. It's been hers for as long as she can remember, the power to command, to demand, to control. But today, her face betrays no hint of concern. Instead, there's a hint of amusement. She steps toward the broken car, her gaze unwavering. She's in complete control of the space around her. The tension in the room makes her smile, but it's a smile full of cold calculation. Her eyes flick to Jordan, the mechanic who's just stepped into the room. His uniform is stained with the grease and sweat of a day's work, his hands rough with the calluses of a lifetime spent fixing what others break. He doesn't belong here, not in this showroom of shiny luxury. Not in this space where money is king and people like him are invisible. But today, his eyes meet Sarah's without hesitation. And that's when the game begins. Her voice rings out, clear, sharp, a challenge wrapped in mockery. "Fix this engine, and I'll marry you." The words hang in the air, sharp as a blade. Her colleagues snicker under their breath, the sound barely disguised as they shift uncomfortably. Some laugh openly, their eyes flickering toward Jordan, waiting for his reaction. But Jordan stands still, like a stone in a river. The words cut deeper than she could know, sharper than any wrench he's ever held in his hands. He feels it. That sting. That weight. The undercurrent of years, of being reduced to less, of always having to prove that he is worth something. He feels it all in those few words. But his face doesn't change. Sarah doesn't know, or maybe she just doesn't care, that her words have set something in motion. That challenge, that simple statement, is more than a joke to him. It's a wound. It's a reminder of the world that has always looked at him through a lens of doubt and disrespect. But Jordan doesn't move. His pride is wounded, yes, but it is not broken. Not yet. Not in front of these people. Not in front of her. He steps forward, slow and deliberate, his eyes never leaving hers. Her smirk widens as she watches him approach, as if to say, "I dare you." The room grows heavy with the weight of her expectation, the gaze of every onlooker on his back. Jordan moves with the calm of someone who knows what's at stake. This is no longer just about fixing an engine. This is about proving something, proving to her, to them, to everyone watching, that he is more than her joke. More than a challenge to be brushed aside. This is about showing them all that he will not be their fool. Not today. Not ever again. He kneels down by the car, his hands already moving over the engine, the familiar mechanics of it grounding him. Every twist of the wrench, every turn of his hand, is a defiance of the low expectations others have for him. The engine's parts are cold to the touch, stubborn in their silence, just like the way people have always seen him, hard to crack, but not without reason. The room is silent now, save for the sound of his tools working their magic. Sarah watches him, arms crossed, her amusement slowly fading into a quiet curiosity. She's used to control. She's used to people doing exactly what she asks, exactly how she expects. But this is different. He's not begging for her attention. He's not trying to win her favor. He's doing his job. Just like he always does. Quietly, with precision, with skill. The tension in the air thickens as the moments stretch on. The employees, who once laughed behind their hands, now look on in silence, sensing the shift. No one expected this. No one expected Jordan to hold his own, to take on her challenge without flinching. And now, the challenge isn't just about an engine. It's about the walls that have always been built around him, the walls of judgment, of prejudice, of stereotypes. It's about tearing them down. Sarah's smile has faded, replaced by something that resembles uncertainty. She taps her foot impatiently, her gaze still fixed on Jordan. But the more she watches him work, the more her confidence cracks. What if he actually fixes it? The thought gnaws at her. What will that mean? And then, just as the silence is about to suffocate the room, the engine roars to life. The sound of the engine, deep and full, fills the room like a thunderclap. It echoes off the polished floors, a sound of defiance, of victory, of proof. Sarah's breath catches in her throat. Her eyes widen as the car that had once been silent now hums with the power of Jordan's hands. He's done it. He's fixed it. The challenge that she had so casually tossed out has been met. And she realizes, with growing shock, that he's done something far more important than just fixing a broken machine. He's fixed her perception. He's shown her, and everyone in that room, that the worth of a man cannot be measured by the color of his skin or the clothes he wears. It is measured by his skill, his grit, and his ability to rise above the challenges thrown in his way. Jordan stands, wiping his hands on a rag, his expression unchanged. He's not smug. He's not looking for validation. He's not seeking her approval. He did what he came to do. And now, as the room holds its breath, Sarah is forced to reckon with her own arrogance, her own misplaced superiority. The challenge was hers, but the victory is his. And in that moment, she realizes that she's the one who has been reduced to a joke. The silence lingers, thick and heavy, before the first muttered words break through. It's not a compliment. It's not an apology. It's the sound of a world being forced to change, one quiet moment at a time. The room is thick with tension, the air charged with the unspoken judgment of those who watch, waiting for Jordan to fail. Sweat glistens on his brow, trickling down his face as his hands move with practiced precision, fingers curling around the tools with the kind of familiarity born only from years of hard work. His body is a quiet symphony of movement, each wrench turning, each adjustment a defiance of the ridicule that echoes from Sarah's office. The ticking of the clock in the background is relentless, each second stretching like an eternity, each one punctuated by Sarah's sarcastic voice. "You're taking too long," she calls out, her voice sharp, slicing through the silence like a knife. "Do you even know what you're doing?" Her words hang in the air, dripping with disdain, as her colleagues, gathered in their perfectly pressed suits, shift uncomfortably on their feet. They watch the scene unfold with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. They've seen Jordan before, a mechanic, always with dirt under his nails, his hands never polished by the shiny world they inhabit. They've seen him as the worker, the laborer, the man who fixes things but never gets the credit, never gets the seat at the table. And now, in this high-end showroom, the world feels like it's closing in on him. Her taunts sting, but he doesn't flinch. Jordan fights the urge to snap, to let the weight of her mockery pull him down into the shadows where the world has always tried to place him. Instead, he channels it. He tightens his grip on the wrench and focuses, his mind sharp as a blade, cutting through the noise. Sweat mingles with the grime on his face, the sound of the wrench turning the only rhythm he can trust. The car sits before him, its hood open like a challenge, its silence daring him to fail. It's an elegant beast, sleek, shiny, out of reach for someone like him, someone who's always had to fight for everything, who's never been given a free pass. And Sarah? She watches from her office, her eyes never leaving him, her lips curled into a thin smile. She doesn't see him as a person, not really. To her, he's a puzzle, something to be solved, something to entertain her while she holds court in her high-rise world. But Jordan isn't just another challenge for her amusement. His colleagues stand by, their eyes flicking between Sarah and Jordan, sensing the rising pressure. Some of them, the ones closest to Sarah, can't help but whisper behind their hands. "He won't be able to do it," one mutters under his breath. "There's no way. He's just a mechanic. What does he know about these cars?" The doubt spreads like a contagion. Some shake their heads, others roll their eyes. They see Jordan as out of place here, his hands too rough, his clothes too stained for a place like this. His world doesn't belong here. They don't understand why Sarah bothered even making the challenge. And with every whispered word, with every judgment cast his way, the weight on Jordan's shoulders grows heavier. But Jordan doesn't respond. He doesn't need to. The sound of his tools, the click and turn of each part, is louder than any of their doubts. His hands, though calloused and worn, are steady, moving with the kind of skill that comes only from years of proving himself in a world that never gave him the chance to be more than just a worker. He's worked in garages, in factories, on engines caked with dirt and grime. He's fixed broken systems, but no one has ever looked at him as the one who could fix the world. No one except him. With each twist of the wrench, Jordan pulls himself further into the rhythm, into the focus that the engine demands. The car is a puzzle, a test of precision, patience, and knowledge. It is a reflection of everything that has ever been asked of him. His life has always been about fixing what's broken, making do with what he's got, and never getting the credit for the work. But not today. Today, he will not be a joke. He will not be a footnote in the story of someone else's success. His hands move faster now, his focus unshakable. He doesn't look up at Sarah. He doesn't listen to her taunts or the whispers from behind him. His world has narrowed to the engine and his hands and the quiet determination that drives him forward. His mind is sharp, but his heart is heavy with the years of weight he's carried. The pressure of being underestimated. The weight of being judged. It all presses down on him, but he doesn't let it break him. The room holds its breath, the tension thick in the air. Jordan's colleagues stare, some in disbelief, others in silent awe. The clock ticks away, seconds passing in slow motion as they wait for him to falter. And in that moment, something shifts. The pressure of the room, the pressure of their doubt, begins to feel less like a weight and more like fuel. He's been here before, fighting uphill battles, pushing against the current, working with nothing but the skills he's honed over a lifetime of struggle. He will not let them win. Then, the engine gives a low hum, and Jordan's heart skips a beat. It's not enough to start it, but it's enough to make him pause. A spark. A flicker. The puzzle piece has shifted. He feels it. It's right there, just within his reach. The challenge isn't over yet, but the power has shifted. The engine, this once defiant machine, is now answering to him. And in that brief moment, Sarah's smirk falters. Her eyes narrow as she watches him work, her posture stiffening in a way that speaks of discomfort. For the first time, she's not in control. And Jordan knows it. His colleagues glance around, unsure of how to process the sudden shift. The whispers quiet down, the doubts slowly turning into something else. Something more uncertain. Some begin to look at Jordan differently, no longer sure that this is just a simple job for him. He's done something they didn't expect. He's made them question their assumptions. The clock ticks on, and Jordan doesn't stop. He knows what's at stake. He knows what they think of him. But today, he will prove them wrong. Every turn of the wrench, every twist of his wrist is a step closer to not just fixing an engine, but fixing a world that has always doubted him. The car remains silent for now, but Jordan is just beginning. And for the first time in a long while, the struggle doesn't feel like defeat. It feels like victory in the making. The air in the showroom has never felt heavier. The polished floors reflect the mounting tension that grows with each passing second. Jordan's hands move like clockwork, his fingers working over the engine with an almost mechanical precision. Every twist of the wrench, every adjustment, is a silent testament to his skill, his years of expertise. The clock is ticking down, the seconds stretching like an eternity, but Jordan doesn't falter. His mind is focused, sharp, as if the engine itself is speaking to him, telling him exactly what it needs. He knows this car. He knows engines. But more than that, he knows the weight of every eye in that room, the doubt in the air, the assumption that he doesn't belong here. And he refuses to let that defeat him. Sarah watches from her office, her arms crossed, her posture one of superiority, but underneath that confident exterior, something is shifting. Her eyes narrow as she watches Jordan's hands move faster, more purposefully. The taunts she had thrown earlier, that mocking challenge, now seem hollow in the face of his silent determination. The car's stubborn refusal to start had been a source of amusement for her at first, but now, as Jordan continues to work with methodical precision, she feels a flicker of unease. Her grip on the situation is slipping. Her power, her control, feels increasingly out of reach. And it's a feeling she's not used to. The clock ticks down, each second louder than the last. Her eyes flick from Jordan to the car, then back again. She shifts in her seat, uncomfortable. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He wasn't supposed to be able to do it. He wasn't supposed to prove her wrong. But here he is, standing tall in the face of her mockery, showing no signs of backing down. The engine, once silent, gives a slight hum, a soft vibration that only Jordan can hear. He stops, his fingers pausing mid-turn, his brow furrowed in concentration. The sound is faint, but it's there. A spark. The engine is alive. Jordan doesn't rush. He doesn't leap in excitement. He doesn't need to. His calm, steady presence is more than enough to make the room hold its breath. He knows this moment isn't just about fixing a car, it's about showing them all that they were wrong. That he was never just a mechanic. That he was never just some underdog to be dismissed. The hum of the engine grows louder, more pronounced. The car, once stubborn and unyielding, begins to respond. Sarah leans forward in her chair, her eyes widening. The faintest crack in her confident facade appears. The engine roars to life, a sound deep and powerful, shaking the very air in the room. For a moment, everything stops. The room falls into stunned silence. The sound of the engine, once an impossible dream, fills the space, reverberating against the walls like a victory cry. Jordan stands, wiping his hands on a rag, his face betraying no emotion, but his eyes tell a different story. There's no smugness, no boastful grin. He's not looking for praise, not looking for anyone's approval. He doesn't need it. The engine is alive, and so is his sense of purpose. He's done what was asked of him, and he's done it on his own terms. He doesn't look to Sarah for validation. He knows who he is. And in that moment, the power dynamics have shifted. Sarah's face flushes with a deep, burning heat. The realization hits her like a slap. She's underestimated him. Not just as a mechanic, but as a man. As a human being. The arrogance she'd carried like armor begins to crack, and for the first time, she sees Jordan not as a joke, but as someone who has fought every day of his life to be seen, to be valued, to be recognized. She sees his resilience in the quiet way he holds himself, in the way he moves with a calm dignity that she has never had to fight for. Her breath catches in her throat, and for a moment she can't find the words. She had expected failure, had expected him to crumble under the weight of the challenge, to fall at the feet of her privilege. But Jordan didn't fall. He stood taller than anyone in that room. And now, she's the one who's had to reckon with her own arrogance. Her eyes flick around the room, and for the first time, the silence feels suffocating. The very people who had once shared in her mockery, her privilege, now look at her with a mixture of disbelief and discomfort. The shift is palpable. The room that had once been hers now feels alien, as if the ground has shifted beneath her feet. Jordan, standing tall and unbothered, doesn't even glance at her. His focus is on the task at hand, the car, the work. He's not looking for applause. He doesn't need it. His dignity, his skill, speak louder than any applause could. The tension in the room begins to dissipate as the reality of the moment settles in. Jordan has won, not with words but with action. His brilliance has outshone her arrogance, and it's a humbling sight. Sarah stares at him, her mouth opening and closing as if searching for something to say, but nothing comes. What could she say? She had tried to belittle him, to place him in a box that she thought he belonged in, but he had shattered that box with the quiet power of his work. For the first time, Sarah is faced with the truth of what she's done. She hadn't just underestimated his ability to fix an engine. She had underestimated his humanity. His worth. She had judged him based on the color of his skin, based on the uniform he wore, based on the assumption that he was nothing more than a cog in a machine. But Jordan is no cog. He's the machine. The silence stretches, thick with the weight of realization. Jordan doesn't need to say a word. The moment speaks for itself. Sarah swallows hard, her face flushing with the sting of her own hubris. She has no defense, no excuse. The challenge she set was hers to lose, and now she's the one who's lost. The truth, once hidden beneath layers of privilege and power, has been exposed. And in that exposure, Sarah realizes the depth of her mistake. She had thought Jordan's worth was measured by what he could fix, but his worth was never in the engine. It was in his spirit, his resilience, his refusal to be defined by anyone but himself. The room shifts once again, but this time, it's not just the power dynamic that has changed. It's Sarah herself. For the first time, she sees Jordan not as the mechanic who works for her, but as the man who could have taught her something she never understood. And as the engine hums in the background, Sarah knows that this moment will stay with her forever. The sting of her arrogance is sharp, but it's a lesson she won't soon forget. The room still smells faintly of oil and metal, but the tension in the air is different now. Sarah's hand shakes slightly as she picks up the phone, dialing Jordan's number. The call feels like a confession, like an admission of defeat, though she doesn't say it aloud. Her office is cold, too quiet, and the hum of the air conditioning only seems to intensify the weight on her shoulders. For the first time, Sarah is not the one holding all the cards. Her empire feels fragile, her confidence slipping through her fingers like sand. She had underestimated Jordan, thought him nothing more than a mechanic, a worker, a cog in a machine. But the challenge had humbled her in ways she could never have expected. The engine that roared to life under his hands was just the beginning. Now Sarah has to face the person she tried to dismiss as beneath her. When the phone rings, Jordan's voice on the other end is steady, calm, almost detached. "Hello? I need to speak with you," Sarah says, her voice tight. There's no arrogance, no superiority. Just the quiet acknowledgement of what's happened. She's shaken, but she won't admit it. "Not yet. Can you come to my office?" There's a pause on the other end. Jordan doesn't rush to answer, doesn't rush to accommodate her. She can feel him weighing his options, weighing her request. He's earned this moment, earned the space to decide whether he'll walk in and face her, or if he'll continue on his own path, leaving her to deal with her own mess. "I'll be there in a few minutes," Jordan says, and the line clicks dead. Sarah sets the phone down with a heavy sigh, looking at her reflection in the window, not seeing the high rise she once felt so powerful in, but seeing instead the cracks that have begun to form in her armor. The glass in front of her has always been a barrier, a reminder that she's untouchable, that no one can challenge her. But today, she knows that barrier has shattered. Jordan had broken it with nothing but his quiet strength. Her privilege, her control, no longer feels secure. In that moment, she is just another person, someone who has to face the consequences of her words and actions. When Jordan enters the room, he doesn't look at her with anger, with bitterness, or with pride. He doesn't need to. His silence speaks louder than anything he could say. He steps in with a quiet dignity, his presence filling the space without uttering a word. His hands are clean now, his uniform unchanged, but his eyes hold the calm of someone who has nothing left to prove. Sarah sits across from him, fidgeting with her pen, unsure of where to begin. The power has shifted, and now she's left to figure out how to ask for something she's never had to ask for before: respect. "Jordan," she begins, her voice softer now, more vulnerable than it's ever been. She searches for the right words, the apology that feels right, but nothing seems adequate. I'm sorry. For what I said, for how I treated you." The words feel strange in her mouth, but they are real. "You proved me wrong. I was wrong to underestimate you." Jordan nods slowly, his expression still unreadable. He isn't waiting for this apology, he isn't seeking it. The apology doesn't change what he's done, what he's proven. He doesn't need her validation to know his worth. He sits quietly for a moment, as if letting the words settle before speaking. "It's not just about fixing cars," Jordan says, his voice even but firm. It's about respect. It's about the dignity of work, of people like me who are always looked over, always told we're not enough. We're not given the chance to show what we can do, not given the opportunity to prove ourselves. But that doesn't mean we're any less. It doesn't mean our value is any less than anyone else's. Sarah listens, really listens, for the first time. She feels the weight of his words, the truth behind them. She realizes that what she saw as a simple task, a challenge for amusement, was far more than that to him. For him, it wasn't just about fixing an engine. It was about the battle for respect, for recognition, for being seen as something more than the roles society has assigned to him. The shame she had felt earlier begins to bubble up again, but this time, it's not the shame of defeat. It's the shame of knowing that she has been blind to the human beings in front of her. I've worked my whole life to be seen as more than what people expect of me. Jordan continues, his eyes never leaving hers. People like me don't get to just walk into rooms like this. We don't get opportunities. We get challenges. We get dismissed. But I'm not just a mechanic. I'm a man. I'm someone who's had to fight for every inch of ground I've gained. Sarah's heart tightens in her chest. She wants to speak, wants to apologize more, but she knows there are no words that can take back the arrogance, the mockery. There is no undoing the past, but there's a chance for something better now. The realization of it crashes over her like a wave. The power dynamics have shifted, not because of the engine, but because of the conversation, because of Jordan's quiet dignity. He is not seeking her approval. He has already won. Jordan stands up, his movements slow but deliberate. He doesn't need to stay in this room. He doesn't need her apology. What he needed, what he's always needed, is respect. And now he has it, not because she gave it to him, but because he earned it on his own terms. He stands tall, his back straight, shoulders squared. Thanks for the conversation, he says, his voice steady, calm. But I don't need validation from you. I know who I am. I've always known. Sarah watches him leave the room, her heart heavy with a truth she's only now beginning to understand. Jordan isn't just a mechanic, and he never was. He is a man who has carried the weight of others' ignorance, and has still found a way to rise. Sarah, for all her wealth, her status, her power, realizes that her greatest lesson has come not from fixing an engine, but from understanding the humanity in someone she thought was beneath her. And as Jordan walks out, the tension in the room slowly dissipates, leaving only the hum of the engine, a sound that will stay with Sarah forever. It's not just the engine that's come to life today. It's her understanding, her transformation. The lesson is clear: true power is not in what you have, but in who you are, in the integrity of your character, in your ability to overcome the challenges that others place in front of you, and in your respect for those who are too often ignored. And in that lesson, Sarah finds her redemption.